Hello, welcome back to this channel. I'm Parvati, a fluid dynamics student. So welcome back to the series where I give you a gist of a concept or phenomenon related to fluid dynamics, and we see if we can weave a story out of it, because sometimes it helps us in remembering the important bits of a concept or phenomenon, or sometimes it helps us in not getting confused between two concepts, and most of the time because it makes learning a lot more fun. Today I'll be talking to you about something called coastal morphodynamics, which is nothing but the interaction between the seabed and the water flowing over it, which could be the river, ocean, sea, etc. And then we proceed on to something called river straightening. So, see you in a bit. Yeah. Okay, so what does the term morphodynamics mean? The term morpho means shape, and the term dynamics means in motion. So you put the two together, it basically means motion of the bed shape. That is, the water flow and the seabed talk to each other. The flow field over the seabed, that is the hydrodynamics, basically determine the pattern of variation of sediment transport rate. By sediment transport, I mean the movement of organic and inorganic particles by water. So, greater the flow, greater will be the sediment transport rate. Now, even intuitively it is true, right? Now, this variation changes the seabed by erosion or deposition of sediment, which is basically the bottom evolution. The changed bed now induces a different flow field, and this is where morphology comes into play. Now that we know the seabed changes its shape due to erosion or deposition, let's talk about how it happens. This is understood by Exner's famous equation of conservation of sediment, which in essence means that if more sediment enters the section than it leaves, you will have a deposition, and if more sediment leaves a section than it enters, you will have erosion. Okay, now that we have all the necessary fundamentals required, let's talk about a real life application, that is river straightening in 1D. Consider a meandering river. The one that you see is basically a profile from the top, and the one that you see now is a long profile, which is basically a line that starts from the beginning of the river to the very end where it joins the sea. The very tiny fluctuations that you see in the long profile is induced by the meanders themselves. Now, what happens in river straightening is that the points between A and B, the bends that you have between A and B, they're cut off. The elevation drop between A and B is the same as before straightening. But the distance between A and B is not the same, because now we have a straight line between A and B instead of those meanders. Remember? As a result, the bed slope between A and B is now elevated compared to the bed slope in the upstream section, which is UA, and the downstream section, which is BD. For the sake of illustration, let's exaggerate the diagram a bit. In section AB, the bed slope is larger, so the flow rate will be larger and the sediment transport rate will also be larger. So what does this mean? This means that in section UA, there will be erosion because the sediment leaving the section is larger than the sediment entering the section. Likewise, there will be accretion or deposition in the section BD because the sediment entering the section is larger than the sediment leaving the section. So basically the upstream part of AB will degrade while the downstream part of AB will upgrade until a new equilibrium profile is established. The 1D picture that you see is a simplified version of reality. What I feel fluid dynamics is trying to tell me, I feel, is very nicely put by Professor Dumbledore in his welcoming speech, which he gives to the school after they come back. And it goes something like this.
But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light.
So yeah, what Professor Dumbledore said, whatever curveball you throw at the flow seabed system, it will always try its best in finding its equilibrium or peace. And it's also a reminder that I am in fact responsible for my own happiness. If you find this interesting, then you should definitely check this book. It's an ebook by G. Parker. It's called 1D Morphodynamics of Rivers and Turbidity Currents. I'll put the link in the description below. So yeah, that was it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. So I'll see you next week on Wednesday. Till then, take care. Bye.